Every wave kind of comes out different. Find the wave's apex and then stay just behind it to where you can bottom turn straight into pumping in the barrel. Twin fins work super well in the barrel. It really generates so much speed pumping that you can make some crazy front side pumping barrels. The better you paddle, the easier it is going to be to kind of stand up all of a sudden popping up super easy because you're basically already surfing before you stood up with the way you're paddling into the wave.
Do you struggle with your paddle power? Well, I can go months without surfing and roll to pumping waves and surf 3-hour sessions multiple times a day, day after day after day by using the Basis Paddle Trainer. It was a total game changer for me, and it can be for you too. These things actually work, unlike elastic resistance bands. You can train your paddling anytime, anywhere, so you can catch more waves and have more fun. Just 10 to 20 minutes a couple times a week, and you're gonna be in insane paddle shape. Right? So remember, the key progression is more waves, and the key to more waves is more paddle power. Check it out at surfbasis.com. You're going to be stoked. All right. Welcome to the Basis Surf Podcast. We're very excited because today we got Matteo Blevins of Nica Time. He's a surf guide down in Colorados, Nicaragua, one of the most barreled dudes when it comes to being down in Colorados, which is one of the best places in the world to get barreled. But we're going to get into all of that. He's the guy that when Shane Dorian, Jackson Dorian, and Aaron Brooks decide they want to get tubed in Nicaragua, he's the guy that they call up and they cruise with him. He's the man, and I'm very excited to get into it with him. Welcome, Matteo.
Thank you so much for having me. Super
Awesome.
stoked to be a part of the podcast.
Cool, man. So we're going to get into a ton of stuff. We want to talk about Colorado's the wave, what makes it so amazing, what should people know about it, how to think about planning their trip, how to navigate the lineup, deal with all the different peaks and all the different challenges you're going to have, picking the right way, paddling, your pop-up, your line, best boards to bring, right? It'd be pretty cool because I know you've been really experimental with your Quiver down there. And yeah, we're just going to nerd out on getting barreled and getting the best wave of your life. There's a ton of stuff. But why don't we start let's talk about the wave. Like, how good does it get down there?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best beach breaks in the world as far as accessibility to all levels, from intermediate to advanced. I think everyone has a chance to get some really good barrels out there.
What's so interesting to me about it is, especially in Central America, like it's very magical in that you guys got all day offshores over there, which basically doubles the time that you have to spend in the water, which doubles your probability of actually getting a barrel. So like, why exactly does Colorado's have those all day offshores?
It has that huge lake that's just inland of the ocean. So the two different water temperatures create that offshore wind.
Yeah, it is the best thing ever. When you're in Central America, most of the time the wind is up early. I was just down there a couple weeks ago. The winds got heavy at 10 a.m. So we just had this short 3 to 4 hour window to surf. And I remember spending like 3-4 weeks in Colorado, and it was literally like offshore all day. So I just surfed my brains out. It was a problem for me having so much surf time, but it was a good problem to have, that's for sure. What else should we know about Colorado? Obviously, it's an incredible barreling beach break. Why did you choose just to focus on Colorado's? I know that you've traveled the world, you surfed so many different spots. How would you compare it to other waves that you've surfed that might have been special to you? What made this one so special?
Yeah, I think it's not just the wave, it's the beach and the 2-mile stretch of white sand. Colorado's isn't the only wave. There's Ponga drops also, which is like kind of outer reef, not like a little reef break that we have like in the center of the beach. And then there's a point break called Los Perros that you can surf on certain directions. So you have 3 pretty distinct waves on the beach, and then Colorado's is the beach break. Not only that, but you have a super safe community that you can have friends and family and guests come and stay with you and be super safe and have a really amazing experience while enjoying that amazing beach break that we have right in front.
Yeah, for sure. It is nice too. You definitely do have this little community feel to it, which is really nice. Everybody gathers around and has a margarita at the end of the day, plays volleyball and all that. So a nice vibe. If you're thinking about what time of year should you go, like how would you describe the different seasons and how that would affect the kind of waves that you're going to get?
Yeah, so you could say our surf season starts mid-March when the first south swell starts showing up. And then it goes all the way through December as we get really good south swells. Even in the off season, January, February, and beginning of March, we still have fun surf at Ponga Drops. Many guests come those months and get super fun surf as well.
Yeah. How does the sand shift throughout those different periods? So how would you characterize how the wave changes throughout those different moods and different seasons?
Yeah, those early months, the sand's not quite correct. You'll get those swells that'll come in, have good waves, but it's not quite the same as when the sand really gets off the beach and starts moving around. There's a lot more opportunities later on in the later months for sure.
Yeah, but then it becomes more crowded because everybody knows that that's when the sandbars are going to be good. Maybe you get there a little early and sneaky before it does get crowded, and maybe there is the odd sandbar that's working, and then you get your own little peak. It's always that little game you're playing, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess you said it perfectly. Like those early months, you can get a couple really good waves with less crowd. Right where surf season is, like May, June, July, August, it's going to be a bit more crowded, especially July and August. September and October, the outlier months are my favorite because you can get on shore, but if you're patient, you can get some of the best days of the year those months for sure. And then, sorry to interrupt, and then November and December, like a micro season where we get like really good south swells those 2 months where it's like overhead and some really fun barrels as well.
Yeah. And my experience with it is it's really fun across the different size ranges as well. Even when it's small, it's still really fun just because it's peaky, it's punchy. You can get tucked into these little mini barrels. It's not like death defying like it can get sometimes, right? But it's fun across all those ranges. And when it gets big, it definitely can hold that size and it's so much fun. Just describe to the listeners like size ranges, like how the different seasons are going to feel.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, no matter what, every size is fun. No matter what month you come, you can be in between swells or during the swell. The waves are going to be super fun. You're going to get barreled, whether it's 2 to 3 foot or 6 foot. You're going to be getting fun barrels, and then just like changes on the different tide. But the wave's perfect no matter what size it is, like you said. So definitely you can have those small and bigger days.
Yeah. Okay. So then thinking about the beach break, the tide has such a big impact in terms of the types of wave you're going to be surfing. Well, how would you describe the interplay with the tides and its different moods?
Yeah, dead low, you're ideally going to have a steeper, harder drop and more tubing waves. And then as it gets to mid tide, you'll still have that effect. And it gets past mid tide, it gets a little less steep and more rippable. Then it will max out on the tide. Even on full tide, you can get some really fun sessions. Like I said, you can surf it on all tides.
You can surf it on all tides. That's good to know. There's one north of you that you can't surf on low tide. You want to surf it on a high tide. Otherwise, you're going to break your back. It is really good to have the understanding of the tides. You'll have these different moods. So you can pick, with the all day offshores, you can figure out what window to target. I guess, is there anything else people should think about if they're going down to Colorados and getting tubed, like before they book their trip? Any considerations when they're trying to make that decision?
Yeah, I think the accessibility, having a surf break right in front of your accommodations where you're not having to travel at all, except maybe if you want to jump on a boat and surf the Point Break Manzanillo or surf the cobblestone Split Peak playgrounds. For the most part, you're going to stay at playground. You're going to stay there at Colorado's at the beach break and just surf right there in front of your accommodations. It's a nice gated community where everything's super flat. You can rent your golf cart. You're cruising around the whole community, hitting all the amenities, having a commercial center and all the stores and stuff. And like you said, the community vibe of people that are on vacation also. It really is the all-time vacation. When people come and stay with us, they really fall in love with the place and keep coming back for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's so key. You could check it a lot and then wait for your little window. You're checking out and you're like, looks good, but there's crowds. All right, I'm going to wait a little bit. Check back a little bit later. Crowds died down. All right, still firing. That's my little window. So there's that game that you can play, and that really is helpful versus like you're cruising around, you get there, and then it's like, all right, you're getting in regardless of the crowd. And so that's definitely a factor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, tell us now, okay, because I remember there was this one time it was freaking pumping. We were sitting with the pack, and I just see you paddle off into the distance to the left. And I'm like, where's Matteo going? He always gets the best waves, so I'm just going to follow him. I sat a little bit beneath you, and then behold, this massive bomb came through, and there was another one behind it, and I definitely scored. First of all, thank you for that wave. Tell us, what are your tips on reading waves, like being in the right position? That's the thing about surfing a beach break, right? The pro is that there's peaks everywhere. You can find your little spot. If everybody's packed up in one area, you can hunt and find your own spot. But it also means that there's not necessarily always going to be a defined takeoff spot. So you have to be even better in terms of your wave reading and judgment. So without giving away, I know you have your secrets, but what are some tips and advice that you could give to somebody who's trying to get barreled in terms of positioning, wave reading, and things like that?
Yeah, I think your concentration level is huge as far as barrel riding, because you can engage in conversations, but you should always try to keep your concentration towards the horizon, and any kind of bump that's going to tip you off of anything that's coming. You can look at the currents around you and get little hints of what might be coming. As far as like maybe concentrating and then really listen to your instincts. When your instincts tell you something, they're usually right, and you got to react in time. I think a big thing I see a lot of people doing is getting out there and talking like you would in California at a point break. You can't really have too in-depth a conversation while you serve a beach break. Everything happens so quickly that you have to not only react quickly, but you have to put yourself, like, give yourself little head starts, like little second here, second there will get a long way, like at a beach break.
That's so true. It is very easy to get distracted when there's a bunch of people out and you're just like chatting along. The hard part, of course, is you have to be so picky, right? There's a lot of waves come through, but there's only certain good ones. Now, maintaining that intensity of focus for a long 2-3 hour session and really being dialed and focused in, it's hard, but I guess that's how you get barreled off your face like you do. And so any other tips, like as you paddle out, what are some of the things that you look for? You mentioned looking for bumps. You talked before, we were talking about how you develop a sixth sense for things. If you were going to try to break it down more to somebody who's, maybe you have an intermediate surfer who's coming and they're trying to catch their first barrel, what advice would you give to them?
Stay active also, as well as being engaged and concentrated on what's going on and what's coming in. Stay active. Always like paddle one way, paddle the other, but stay like moving, kind of ready to go and find a good wave, because it's not a point break. It's not going to come right to you for the most part. So you really have to be mobile and moving around, ready to paddle to make some ground to be in the right spot for a wave.
Speaking of paddling, how important is like being paddle fit for surfing a wave like Colorado's?
Yeah, I always say paddling is probably 80% of the job. Getting a good wave at Colorado's is just being really good paddler and reading your situations and getting yourself in the right position to get the good waves.
Yeah. Even before catching the wave, right? When I was there, it was pumping. Even just making out the back, period, to even be in position to catch a wave. You're doing a lot of duck dives. You got to be in good shape to even make it out the back on those days. It can get pretty. I snap the board. I'm sure you snap boards all the time over there, right? So you got to be in good shape to make it out the back. And then you got to be in good shape to actually catch the wave.
And then get back.
And then get back out after. That's the hard part. You're like, oh man, I just made the paddle out. And then you see a perfect wave coming. And you're like, oh, I got to go for it because it's so good. But then you're like, man, I'm going to get worked paddling back out again. That can definitely be rough. But it's worth it if you get a good barrel. So it's all worth it. What are your tips then in terms of the kind of line you want to take? Let's break it down for people. You see the wave. Are there any characteristics of like a lump coming to you? Is there anything in particular you're looking for when you're looking at that lump of swell that's coming at you?
At Colorado's, we have that outer reef outside the beach breaks. On the biggest days, it hits the outer reef, breaks, and then that energy kind of reforms, and then will hit the beach break, and you don't know quite where it's going, but it's coming somewhere. When you see those big sets, even when it's not hitting it and making a whitewash, it'll still hit it. You see those humps on those outer reefs and something's coming, and you can get some head starts, like using your instincts and paddling in the right direction.
Okay. Let's say you're paddling for the wave. At a wave like Colorado, how much angle do you recommend people take?
Every wave comes out different, but you definitely want to paddle to the apex of the wave, find the wave's apex, and then stay just behind it to where your like bottom turns straight into pumping in the barrel, which would be the most ideal way to catch the wave. That real sideways horizontal angle towards the way you're going under the lip and popping right up into pumping in the barrel.
So for your best waves, you're not trying to take off behind the peak. You're in front of the peak, right at the peak, and then you're taking a lot of angle right there. Or
no, of course, the best way would be you're taking off and the peak's in front of you. Can bottom turn straight into that and start pumping, but it's just the balance of how far you can really get back.
That's the thing about the wave, is it, as with any barreling wave, it's going to go super fast. It's like constantly running super fast. So if you go straight, the wave is just going to pass you by and there's no hope. So that's the reason why you're saying, yeah, you got to take a lot of angle and then go straight from your bottom turn so you can start pumping. Any tips then for once you're actually in the wave and you're pumping, you're trying to generate speed, trying to make it out? Like what goes through your head? Not a lot. You're probably just like, woo. But besides that, what goes on in your head in terms of like, how do I make it out of this thing?
If you want to keep your weight forward, you don't want to have your weight go too far back unless you're trying to slow down to get deeper. You really want to be moving forward and trying to like keep that forward momentum as far as like not falling too far back, because then you might get smoked by the whitewash if you get caught like taking your time. So you got to keep your weight forward, make sure you get in front of that section, and you can decide whether you want to keep pumping or stall, go past the whole situation. And then you decide whether you want to pump or if you can maybe slow down and then wait for it or what the wave's going to do, because every wave's a little bit different.
And where are your eyes? Are you looking to the corner, the top corner? Are you looking just straight down the line? Are you looking at the bottom of the wave? Like where are you paying attention to when you're in the barrel?
You definitely want to look to the top right if you're front side, and then top left if you're back side.
Any tips on the takeoff itself? Because barrel riding is the hardest thing in the world, but it seems simple. You just paddle for a wave, get to your feet, and then you're getting barreled. But getting to your feet is the hardest part. Are there any nuggets of wisdom you can share there, going front side or back side with your pop-up? You got to be able to get to your feet quickly, right? Anything you could share there?
Yeah, I think ideally we go back to how important paddling is. So the better that you paddle, the easier it is can be is kind of stand up. So I think when you see the wave and you gauge in your paddle and you understand where you have to paddle and how hard you have to paddle, like where you go and when you turn around, and when you start paddling with the wave, you're actually already surfing before you stand up, because you're paddling and you're already surfing as you're paddling the wave. And so you're almost already surfing before you stand up, and you get that angle with the paddle, and it makes it easier because you're basically already surfing before you stood up with the way you're paddling into the wave.
Yeah, I like that. I like that way of describing it. You're already surfing, right? If you've engaged your rail, you're locked in. It's just a matter then of, yep, totally. And then backside, you have this really unique pig dog. Tell us about that. I like your style when you do that. Your feet are super close together. It's really interesting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, just like throughout the years, I've gone away from the super traditional knee on the board. So I just keep my knee up, put my feet right in the middle of the board. All of a sudden, you start going super fast because all your weight's on the front of the board. You get super low, bend your knees. And it's definitely like a really nice technique. Once you get it locked into that little parallel kind of mid-board stance, you start flying through the barrel. You can make some crazy sections that maybe you wouldn't make if you're on your knee. It feels so cool when you're just like standing up without your knee down. It feels super cool. And you're just, the shoulders are super centered. And like you said, looking at the top left, hoping the exit just keeps in vision. You just keep looking at the exit and just hope to keep go further and further until it pop out of there.
I'm sure that's your secret to making those super deep backside ones, because it's hard to generate speed on your backside. Getting weight up front, doing what you're talking about, is just going to make you go that much faster, huh?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Guys like Mason Ho that are the experts at doing that kind of stuff. Mason, I think, really uses it a lot as far as getting his backside barrels. He makes some like crazy Indo barrels at deserts and all those different waves.
So when you're paddling for the wave and you're falling, is your back foot a little bit further back? Do you engage the back inside rail a little bit at first to catch it, to engage the rail, and then after you're sure you're set the rail, then you shift your feet forward? Or do you just like from the beginning, you're just like feet forward, centered, and you're just like all your weight is in like that left heel on your front foot?
I think watching the clips is more start off pig dog and you kick the tail out. And then once you feel that you engage the fins, then you can hop up and jump in that one stance and then get going.
Yeah, I think it's important for whoever's listening to get that whole picture. Otherwise, they might try to go straight into that unless they have really good control. That might get them into trouble. So you start off with a normal pig dog and then adjust your feet up to get that maximum speed.
As the fins engage, it turns into a pump. As you switch your stance and go up, it's a pump. It goes into a pump and then gets you going. Then you can even keep going as you're further up. You could keep pumping if you want, if you need to.
Getting all the speed tricks. Nice. And then the other interesting thing that do you like going backside or front side for barrels now?
Who doesn't like going front side where it's just like looking at it and it's so nice. And once you really get going, it's so easy and stand up. I think that's the best thing, is a front side stand up tube is the best thing in the world.
Yeah. You do sometimes hear people talking about they think they can get better waves backside just because they can stall and they're gonna be able to get a deeper tube. Whereas when you're going front side, you can go fast, but you can't slow down. I agree. I'd rather go front side barrel than backside barrel. But everybody, I don't know. Maybe people have different views. And that's why I figured I'd ask you.
Yeah, but then a crazy backside one is you don't even know what happened because you're like the way you're positioned and stuff, and it does feel like a certain kind of cool as far as what just happened. You're like, whoa, it's a different feeling. It'd be hard to say one's better than the other, but if I had to, it would be front side.
One of the things that I noticed was really interesting is you experiment with boards like crazy. One day I'll see you on a tiny twin fin, and then the next day I'll see you on a 6/8 single fin. If someone is thinking about taking a trip down there, what quiver would you recommend?
Yeah, it really depends what you want. I think if you could go grab any board to come down here, would be a Ghost, Paizel, or something like that, where you could find which one, 6'1" or 6'3" or whatever, 5'11", whatever size you are. And it's such a good beach break board. You definitely can't go wrong with something like that. And do you like to ride quad fins? I think quad fins make barrel riding a lot easier, but some people are super anti-quad or something.
Okay. And then would you size up a little bit? Let's say your normal shortboard is whatever. Would you get a Ghost, similar volume, similar dims as your normal board, or would you size up and get more of a step up? How would you think about sizing the board?
Yeah, I would go up like 3 liters from your normal shortboard. If you're like normal shortboard's like a 27 in California, you should probably ride like a 30 liter. You're doing yourself a favor for paddling better and giving yourself a better chance. Obviously, like the professionals, they can ride any size board they want because they paddle so well that it really doesn't matter. But like for us regular surfers, volume's your friend. It's going to help so much, like getting in the wave earlier and helping make those decisions to, like, if you're going to stall or pump, you're going to get in the way that much earlier to start thinking about if you want to do that or not.
Would you recommend people bring several, if you're going to bring a quiver, like what quiver would you bring? Would you bring only short boards and step ups and go bigger? Or would you recommend, obviously it depends on the forecast, right? Let's say the forecast is fun. Would you bring your standard short board and then a Ghost that's a couple liters more? What would your third board be? Or would you go even bigger? Or would you have 2 of the same board in case you snap one? How would you think about that?
Yeah, if it's early in the season, maybe think about bringing a mid-length surf, like super fun Ponga drops. Colorado's isn't working or something. Like sometimes like March, April, like Colorado's be fun, but I don't know, like having a step mid-length around super fun, like maybe in March, April months. But then once you get into Maine, you're more thinking you definitely want a nice beach break board, something with volume to paddle well and pump well. So maybe 2 of those, and then having a twin fin on hand of something like still a nice volume, not like too small of a volume twin fin, like a twin fin with a lot of volume.
Yeah, it is important because you guys got a ton of waves around you, right? If you go to Manzanillo, that's a super fun wave, or you go to there's a bunch of fun points around, right? So you bring that twin fin, then you have options. You want to mix it up. You don't want to just try to get barreled the whole time. Then you have the twin fin and you can have fun on those other waves. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Fun, rippable waves to surf other boards. And then obviously if you like a thruster, have a really cool Lost or something to really dig into some churns at playgrounds or Manzanillo or like Santana, Mapoyo, like really fun churn waves. Definitely, if you want to bring a churn board, air board, that's super smart too. So a churn board, air board, barrel board, and maybe a twin fin, and maybe an extra step up to break or something.
All right. I guess I got to bring 8 boards next time. What about your selection in boards though? Because normally you think like twin fin, that sounds really loose to be riding a twin fin in pumping barrels. Are you at a point where you just gotten so barreled, you're just like, I just need to mix it up, so I'm going to ride a twin. I'm going to see if I can make this twin fin work. Or do you think twin fins actually work well in the barrel? What's your opinion?
Yeah, twin fins work super well in the barrel. It's just, I think the same thing, getting that really good paddle, and then you're already in the wave. So you're never at a point where you're not in control. You're more like pumping and controlling what speed you get with the twin fin. Maybe it's a late drop and then you're like sliding out because you didn't paddle correctly. So it just all comes down to like how you paddle, and then you can do whatever you want on a twin fin. As where the single fin, it's super hard. I can't go left with the single fin. I can't go backside. And even front side, if it's any kind of late drop, it's just like the single fin blues, and you're just going to eat shit. It's going to slide out. You're going to do a 180 backwards and eat shit. So the single fin, you have to paddle perfectly. Everything's got to go to the bottom. It's so hard not to slide out. Yeah. And it's just, but once the line's set, like you fly, and you're getting barreled and you pull out and it's super hard to straighten out. But yeah, the single fin, you're not doing yourself a favor. Single fin in a barrel is pretty hard to do.
Yeah. That was what was interesting. Yeah. First of all, that footage of you riding that 6.8 single fin does look fun, although it does look hard too. I remember when I was down there, Alex Noss was down there as well. And he was getting the craziest tubes on whatever. I don't know how big, but 7.0 single fin or whatever, 6.8, 6.6. And he made it look good. But I was like, damn, that looks hard. I don't know. I've tried to ride single fins before and I just eat shit. That's basically my experience with single fins.
Oh man, they're so hard, dude. Someone asked me, what's the advantage to riding that thing? I'm like, 0 advantages, like super hard. It's just really fun when everything does go right and you figure it out. It's fun. And yeah, you can have some fun waves and fun sessions for sure.
Yeah. Once you figure out a single fin, it would teach you some incredible things and inform your surfing, but I haven't experimented much with it. The big advantage with the twin fins is you must go so fast. So if you're super deep behind, you could just like race and just pump like crazy and just make it out from super deep. Is that one of the reasons why you like your twin fins as well?
Yeah, the twin fin becomes an advantage because it really generates so much speed pumping that you can make some crazy front side pumping barrels. The twin fin just goes great as long as you can fit it in there and keep going.
I interviewed Sam Hammer. He's a local pro in New Jersey, and he's one of the most barreled guys in the Northeast for sure. He likes riding twin fins when he's tube hunting because I can go so fast. I can make sections that are just insane. Huh, that's sick. How about this? What are some big mistakes that you see with people when they're out there? Is there anything where you're like, oh man, that person's doing it wrong? What do you see out there that you wish people would have a better understanding before they came to Colorados?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think if people are taking it too seriously and being too hard on themselves, that's a bummer to see when they're like, oh, fuck, I just get bummed that they missed a wave or something. I would just say stay happy and look at the surroundings and how beautiful everything is. And just be stoked to be there.
Yeah, no, so true. We're so lucky that we get to play, have this crazy, ridiculously fun, like hobby of ours, or obsession is more like, it's not even a hobby. It just takes over your entire life, basically. You know what I'm saying? So then similar to this, I'm getting to my closing questions here. What's your intention when you go for a surf?
Once you start videoing every session, like you do want to just on a full personal level, like just get good clips and keep pushing yourself to get better and just keep getting good waves because it's like a marathon at this point. Think how many years it's been. Keep doing it every year. You got to stay mentally clear to get good waves. Stay mentally clear and be happy.
All right. I love that. And then what if you only could ride one board? So you have to give up all the other boards. What one board would you ride?
I made this design with Ron Meeks from Oahu where it's just a 6.0 and the volume goes all the way up to the nose. And it's 33 liters about with 4-channel bottom and quad fins. I put John Florence larges on the sides and some rounded quad fins in the middle from futures. That's like my go-to board. No matter what size, I can have a really fun session on that board.
Oh, dang. That sounds nice. Is it a model of yours or can people order it if they want to?
No, but it should be. It's such a fun board. Like it's like the perfect beach rake board.
All right, everybody. If you're going to go to Colorado, so that's the board to get. Cool. How can people how should they get a hold of you if they want to go down to Colorado and get some advice and get tubed off their asses?
Yeah. So basically I just stay on my phone if I'm not surfing or hanging with my kids or working. I'm on the Instagram, answering people's messages and getting back to people and helping setting up their trips down to Colorados and just hosting people here and hanging out and being here 24/7 for them while they're here to make sure they have the best experience possible. So I would say the Instagram usually is the best spotter. If you do have my WhatsApp from a recommended source, reach out to me on WhatsApp. But if not, Instagram is perfect.
People can find you at Nica Time. That's NICATIME. You have a YouTube as well where you film a lot of the sessions with the pros that stay with you. You can see what the wave is like. Just go to his Instagram. You'll see nonstop barrels. All right. I think that's it, man. It was such a fun chat. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much, Anna. I really appreciate you. Thanks for reaching out and having me on.